Chat, it's time. We're talking about Evelyn. This is Agent Evelyn. She is the most attractive character in Zenlesszonezero history. Oh! We love our Blondie Evelyn. She is the first limited fire attack agent. Previously, if you wanted a fire DPS, there have been two options. Bernice, Soldier 11. Now, let's address the Soldier 11 in the room. Honestly, Soldier 11 has aged exceptionally well from the 1.0 roster. If you have Lighter and Astra, you can credibly argue that Soldier 11 is better than Ellen. And honestly, that's impressive. However, because you have those support pieces that make Soldier 11 great, you can use them with this new character who is centered around chain attacks and kind of just do more damage. If you pulled the supports that allow Soldier 11 to be performative, all those support pieces can go directly onto Evelyn. It's gonna work out great. Meaning if you pulled Astra and Lighter, Evelyn can perform at her best. Now, I briefly mentioned this earlier. She is the first chain attack DPS in Zenless. She has a chain attack with a 2000% skill damage multiplier. This is roughly double most other agents' chain attacks. Her kit explicitly buffs her chain attack. She gets 30 damage bonus on that chain attack, and her engine provides resistance shred exclusively for chain attacks and ultimate attacks. If you've been keeping up with a lot of the theory crafting development for Zenlesszonezero, we've discovered a lot of techs around maximizing chain attacks and doing more chain attacks on a DPS. Normally, these have been a bit more slipshot or questionable in their utility and usefulness. This time, they're very useful. We got one, boys. Stand strong. Her skill priority is as follows. Chain attack before anything else. Then it's EX and basic at about equal. And then assist and then dodge at the end. Chain and ult are most of Evelyn's damage. I believe the weighting is about 80% or more. So make sure you level that chain with a priority, with a fire, with a passion. Now, the reason I explicitly called out dodge attack at the end is because she has a special dodge that is tied to her special attack input. By executing her special at the right time, you can use it as an iframe, and it counts as a perfect dodge, and it gives her additional resources. What do I mean by resources? So as Evelyn is played on field as a DPS, she wants to collect this resource called Burning Embers. Burning Embers are generated by Evelyn's basic attacks, special attacks, and EX special attacks. This is the resource that she uses to do enhanced basic attacks. When you use Evelyn's special attack as a dodge or a perfect dodge, I'm gonna call it perfect dodge because it's the technical term, she gains 4 out of 16 Burning Embers. Instead of, if you were to use her dodge counter instead of the special dodge, you would gain 2 out of 16 Burning Embers, or 12.5% versus 25%. So you are generating twice as much of her Burning Embers resource by using her special dodge. The other thing that her special does is it shortcuts her basic attack string. So a very easy combo that you can do is special attack and then basic 3 through 5. Caching your resources or saving them to cash them out all at once can be advantageous because of the stun multiplier. So you can cap out your resources before entering stun while also doing damage along the way. You can use enhanced basic attacks by consuming Burning Embers and generating points for her chain attack, or the meter under her HP bar. There are 2 of them. One of them is for Burning Embers. The other one is for Burning Tether points. What a term. So touching back on Burning Embers, her EX special is 8 out of 16 always. And if it's used as a dodge, you can get an extra 4. And her basic attacks continually generate embers as you use them. Some combos you can do when your resources are fully available is we can chain in on the stun. We can activate a manual chain or burning chain. We're going to call it burning chain for simplicity. Just so you know, that's the one accessed by her kit. So we're going to trigger the burning chain. Then we're going to swap out before the burning chain hits and trigger a quick assist or an attack that will re-trigger the stun state to reset chain, so you can chain in again on Evelyn. Once Evelyn comes in again, at that point, we've done 3 chains. 2 from the stun mechanics and 1 from her kit. Now, after that, we're gonna either use her ult or use her EX and do 2 enhanced burning attacks, or enhanced basic attacks. So we could ult, enhance basic 1, EX, activate the chain. Or we could use her first enhanced basic, use her EX to get those points back, then use her enhanced basic again, and then trigger the chain. Once the chain is triggered, we're gonna swap out again. Now that we've swapped out, you're gonna go to your support agent, you're gonna use your support ult. If this is Astra, congratulations, you got an extra chain. Then we're gonna come back in on Evelyn. We're gonna do another enhanced basic, then her EX, then another enhanced basic, and we're gonna chain again. Now, if you've done this correctly, you'll have done at least 5 chain attacks. If you have lighter, all of them should be in the stun window. Asterisk, I have not had the chance to try this myself. It may not fit. I am hoping it does. That sounds very complicated as I've presented it. And it is. To be honest, it is a bit complicated, but it should be very fluid in practice. If you don't know, you can cancel Evelyn's burning chain attack before it hits. It is a cancelable chain attack. So we can take advantage of that to essentially make that chain attack free by controlling when it's activated to activate it when we are swapping out. So by activating it when we are swapping out, we are effectively removing that time, or that animation time, from our window of opportunity, because I don't want to call it a rotation. In my opinion, a rotation starts and ends from when the enemy is not stunned until when the enemy is not stunned again. So it would include all of the resource acquisition. So yes, that's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is chain in, and then when you want to swap out, do a chain. Instead of just swapping out, do a chain and swap out. That is how you will be able to min-max Evelyn combos and Evelyn gameplay. Even if you're playing outside of stun, activate a chain, swap to a support, swap to lighter. It's free. Take advantage of it. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. Now we're talking about drive discs. Let's quickly touch on main stats. They're very straightforward. Slot 4, you're gonna use crit damage or attack percent. The more crit damage you have, the better attack percent is. This is mostly notable if you have M4, which I might, we'll see. Okay, tune into the stream when Evelyn releases to see if we pull M6. I don't know, find out when she releases. But yes, if you do have M4, you should consider attack percent slot 4. It won't be a big difference, but otherwise, crit damage slot 4. Slot 5. I've previously been very hands-off or very laissez-faire about slot 5 recommendations. In this case, when you play with Astra Lighter, I want to put my foot down and say 10%. If you do not play with Astra or Lighter or both together, the other options are more competitive. But if you do play both of them together, and you most likely will, you're looking at about a 4% damage difference in favor of using Pen slot 5. 2-piece, I'm still going to be very lackadaisical about that recommendation. Use whatever you have. Hey, did you know Zenless Optimizer is an alpha now? Ask around, or ask, when I am streaming, ask in chat if you need help with it, and I'm happy to walk people through it. Basically, Fred made this for me and my community, so let's take advantage of it. I know I will be. Slot 6, it's attack. That's it. I really don't know what else to tell you. It's just attack. There's no other option. Recommended 2 pieces, pen, crit, attack, damage bonus, or none at all. Basically in that order. 4-piece drive discs. There's no easy way to put this. Evelyn does not currently have a best in slot drive disc set. There are 2 options you can use. They are Woodpecker Electro or Hormone Punk. Each of them has their own downsides. I think Woodpecker Electro has less downsides, but potentially smaller heights. Woodpecker Electro is the drive disc set that the developers themselves have recommended you use on Evelyn, and it is consistent, sort of. If you don't already know how Woodpecker Electro works, you get a short uptime attack percent buff for using basic attack, dodge counter, and EX special. Now, this is where the problems come in. In most cases, Evelyn will have 1 stack of this buff active or no stacks of this buff active. Evelyn's special perfect dodge does not count as dodge counter damage, she cannot get this stack when played optimally. The more pressing issue is her EX costs 60 energy. Uptime from this might be a bit questionable, and because the buff lasts 5 seconds, even the basic attack stack may not apply to every chain attack you do. It is probably fine to assume 1 or even 2 stacks on a majority of your damage, but I need to mention it. But yes, Woodpecker Electro is the easy set that you can play, so that's important. Now we also need to talk about Hormone Punk. Hormone Punk is the other set. We don't know how Hormone Punk works. You actually may not. It's a set that gives 25 attack percent for 10 seconds when you swap in, except it has a 10-second downtime. The in-game description says every 20 seconds, but that timer starts immediately. So it's 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down. Essentially what this means, you can't control when Hormone Punk is up in extended encounters. You will essentially be praying that it's up when you're doing damage in a game mode like Deadly Assault. Can this work out? Potentially. Does that mean it'll be convenient? Potentially. Since you'll be swapping in and out frequently, sometimes it'll be up, sometimes it won't be. You're just gonna have to be okay with that, okay? I don't really know how else to put it. Yeah, the drive situation is kind of rough. It would have been really cool if she got a drive disc set in the next update, instead of them releasing a drive disc set for the character in 1.7. That does not currently seem to be happening. Well, 2-piece Anomaly Mastery sounds cool, I guess. Engines. Evelyn has a couple engine options. We need to talk about her S-Rank engine's Heartstring Nocturne. If you need a rough damage outline, Heartstring Nocturne is 20 to 30% better than Mercado Desire, with its passive fully active. When enemies are fire weak and you play with lighter, you are much closer to the 20% than the 30%, because the relative gain from more Res Shred is lower. Heartstring Nocturne gives Res Shred on chain attack and ultimates, and 24 crit rate and 50 crit damage. Before you ask, yes, this engine is also Soldier 11's best in slot, as long as you are able to do chain attack reset combos, or you play with Astra. The next best option for Evelyn is technically the Zanshin Herb case. Expect this to be much more similar to Mercado Desire than it is to Heartstring Nocturne, but it is about as good as Brimstone. Slightly better, just because it gives crit. It's 20% crit rate and 48 crit damage, and that's it. This is Brimstone. This is the standard banner attack engine. This is the Soldier 11 weapon. You can use this on Evelyn. It requires maintenance to have stack up time, but it'll be fine. Trust, it'll be fine. This weapon may or may not be worse than Mercado Desire, depending on the uptime, but if it's fully stacked, it's quite good. This is Mercado Desire. It's the free engine from last update. If you don't have it, you're going to be using the Starlight engine or the Brimstone, most likely. Mercado Desire will have some inconsistency on its passive just because of a lack of anomaly app in the party, but it'll probably be fine. Because of Astra's attack buffs, it will be better than the Starlight engine anyway. So yes, Evelyn's engine is a 20 to 30% increase over the other options. That's pretty normal. The real problem is a lack of not free-to-play A-rank engines. The Battle Pass engine is kind of just a worse Mercado Desire, which is weird. You'd think they'd make a better A-rank attack engine, but there kind of isn't one. Teams. I want to talk about 2 options for teams, technically. So Evelyn's best support is Astra, currently. Her next best support is Lighter. You ideally have both of them. If you do not have both of them, I want to talk about the alternatives. Instead of Lighter, you can use Caesar or a support agent. What do I mean by a support agent? I mean Nicole. This could also be Lucy. If you are not comfortable with double support, Kaleda is less bad than she usually is. This is possibly the only time I will ever say using Kaleda is okay. I'm not gonna call it good. I'm gonna call it okay. Congratulations, Kaleda, you did it. Stand proud, you can cook. She's about 35% worse than Lighter, or more. Now, you saw I mentioned double support. Don't be afraid to try double support. You do not need to have a stun agent in your teams. I know, right? Wild take. Boom. This goes against everything I've ever known. I play Qingyi with Harumasa. I play Qingyi with Jillian. I play Qingyi with Ellen. I play Qingyi with my ass.
I have to break your neck. It's just the way it is. I'm just a messenger.
Believe it or not, Characters can do damage while being on field outside of stun. Don't lose sight of that because it may be very important. Having someone interrupt your field time is not going to necessarily be better for you, especially in long-term encounters like Deadly Assault. In shield defense, you can get away with it as long as you kill the enemy in that one stun. Since we now have longer-term encounters, you may want to try something else. Miyabi exists, Evelyn exists, NB will exist. Okay, so those are the teams, right? You understand it is ideally Astrolighter. If you do not have Astrolighter, you can play Astra Nicole. You could also play Caesar in place of either. You could also play Lucy in place of either. You could also play Nicole in place of Astra, if you do have Lighter. Coleta is actually an option this time. She's okay. There we go. Let's talk about unit skippability, because I do want to stress this. This is zenlesszonezero. The best DPS releases every update. You could pull Evelyn and wait for reruns if you missed her supports. Or you could pull another DPS and get their supports as they release in the current upcoming versions, because by the time Evelyn supports have rerun, she may have already fallen off. I'm not gonna say whether or not I think that will happen, but I need to point it out. There are new DPSs releasing every update, and they are all very good. Evelyn's first Mindscape gives her 1,500 decibels at the start of combat. Because you start combat with 1,000 decibels, this means you start at 2,500 decibels. This effectively means you can ult essentially instantly. This is very useful for doing damage outside of stun, since you do not have to deal with the delay where you need 3 charges to do a chain attack. You would only need 2. I will mention, if you do ult immediately, you may be unlikely to have your ult during your first big stun opportunity. This may work out anyway, but I have to mention it. Additionally, Evelyn's M1 grants her about 12% Death Shred on all enemies around her. This makes M1 realistically Evelyn's best Mindscape. If you want to pull a Mindscape, this is the one to get. Just because of the convenience from having all of your decibels, you get to take her jacket off. I do not think as a whole Evelyn's Mindscapes are very good. I will be pulling them anyway. Fucking based. Giga based. M2 is 15% attack and a free enhanced basic every 25 seconds. Pretty good for saving resources and having a net for spill issue. All skill levels +2 is roughly 9% increase. Number 4 is 40 crit damage, and you get a shield. The shield prevents spill issue. 40 crit damage means attack percent. Slot 4 is an option now. M5 is +2 skills again. M6. Now, because of how Evelyn works, you're unlikely to use a lot of basic attacks and special attacks in stun. Evelyn's M6 only buffs basic attacks and special attacks, meaning this Mindscape primarily buffs Evelyn's damage outside of stun. During stun, this should be inconsequential at best. Outside of stun, it will allow Evelyn to do more damage. In stun, it won't do much. That's M6. I think Evelyn is crazy hot. I don't know how else to put this. We stan this character. We stan Blondie Ellen, okay? Look. What do you want from me? Look at her. What am I supposed to say? Skip her? She's mid? Nah. We stay strong. She also has cool canceling. This character's made for me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This character's made for me. If you don't like her, you find her clunky, skip her. Get someone else. We'll pull Ambi. Have fun. Vamos. I want this one.
I want to buy this one.